humanism in politics.
Yeah.
Where do you think your politics lie? Because I would imagine you use humanist principles to decide what you think about policies, as Christy and I do.
Well, I would say more accurately, I'm an axiologist. I'm an axiological atheist, which is a value theorist. And the value theory generally focuses on what's good, what's just, what's beneficial, what's truth, what's accurate. It can be used in a sense it's evaluative type of philosophy, and then it's also a social science when it's done formally with math. I'm not very good at calculus, or math, so that's not I'm more of a thinker, and so that's just not never been my thing. But the evaluating and axiology looks at things not like black and white. It looks at like a little more depth. It sees things as having different levels of value in a sense. There's intrinsic value, something unto itself. There's an extrinsic value, like what you could produce, and then there's systemic value, like what you can produce or produce through time, or its effect through time. In other words, like someone could say, well, I can, do this to you, hit you right now. And for the moment, it's going to hurt, right? But there's more than that, because now you're going to be fearful of being hit. Maybe not even just by me, maybe by everybody that comes to you too fast or whatever. So the in a sense, long-term effect of what I just did is actually larger than just the pain you received that could have gone away in a shorter period of time. It's actually psychologically done something. So it's a way of evaluating like what's going on at a deeper level, not just what's happening at the moment, but what also is happening through time. And that's why I think that some people have a hard time. We have a hard time of thinking of not just now, the past, but also the future, and getting those confused. We need to be focused. And you said like humanism. What I start as a value theorist. So I start with the concept of good and value. And like I said before, to me, I see that people are valued in the sense of being dignity beings. But dignity beings, to me, that concept is not limited to just humans. To me, anything that can experience suffering, in a sense, gives us a moral duty to then not, if we can, produce that. So that's, in a sense, I would say axiology, is a type of humanist thinking, because it's focusing on the good, and it's figuring out what is good and what is not good, and tries to say that then we should multiply that which is good. And axiology immediately, though, gets into all kinds of things, including religion, like me being a axiological atheist, which you can be an axiological theist, an axiological agnostic, and an axiological atheist. Just real quick, I'll just explain those, but I'll do it quick. So, because I can talk a lot, so especially about axiology, which I really like. But
we're gonna have to have you back on that,
Yeah, explain that. Yeah, I can go on.
We're gonna have to do it sometime.
Yeah, no problem.
We need to have you back on like a continuum.
Yeah, no problem.
Because you have so much, then we can you just go into little parts of your
True.
brain and visit it.
True. So I know it's like I have a card, right, that I give out to people, and they look at it, and I have like 20 things listed, and they're like, what the hell? And I go, yeah, but if you don't read all that, you don't know. I support child rights. I support LGBT rights. I want you to know that. That is something that I do. I actively do activism. I actively, care about science. I actively care about progressive values and liberalism. And I actively, promote, these kind of things. I want you to know. So because it matters. I realize they have value. Those words have value, the concepts. I realize that we have to transmit them, because these valuable things don't transmit to others unless we express its value. And since I understand how to analyze value and help others grasp the qualities, that they can see it themselves. And to me, so this sort of an axiology always, in a sense, to me also relates to politics, because it's kind of it doesn't limit itself. It's like a way of just evaluating everything around. It's almost like the Matrix, where like all of a sudden you get it. Oh, wow, there's numbers are everywhere. And there's these values everywhere. So you start realizing, wow, my whole world, I have to be more careful, because there's other people out there. That's like, as one person to me, the argument of like solipsism is, in a sense, to me, overcome by axiology. Because solipsism says anyways, the belief that we can't know anything past our own mind, the world could be imaginary, but it leads to, in a sense, either axiology or nihilism. Nihilism is the belief there isn't any value. We can't know value. Value cannot be transmitted, in a sense. or in a sense, any value that is transmitted is only, in a sense, subjective to the person and doesn't really have any transmitted value. I disagree with all that, because it depends on what you're talking about. We're a social species. We value all kinds of things. Even animals have to use axiology, in a sense, value structures of what's better. Like, this area is dangerous. I shouldn't go there. This food, seems to not upset my stomach. I'll keep eating that. I mean, you have to start. So it's not like it's something that you have to even be a human, with a lot of logic to get. It's really understanding the more fine tune of your environment, of your things. So how could it not be political in a sense? And assessing that what's valuable. Like, and there's a formal axiologist, which is a scientific social science axiologist that I interview for about 2 hours, and we go through and explain morality through an axiological understanding. It's one of my best videos. It has like 9,000 views. It's not my most views. One of my videos has 1.5 million. But this one is, to me, like, I'm the most proud of, because it really explains, well, because it breaks down and it shows that, like, we take on Max Schlick's concepts of what an atheist can't prove in morality, and I disprove all of them. But the whole point is, it's the value structure that leads me to humanism, not humanism that lets me see value, to me. And I don't know what other people do, but that's kind of how I would say my take in it. And so I'm constantly looking at that I need to produce human flourishing, not surviving, not even just thriving, but flourishing. And what happens in flourishing? It reminds me of, like, in group therapy. Yeah, there's storming, norming, and performing. When people are performing, like when you and me, are talking, and all of a sudden you lose the outside world and you just kind of like get in a zone, that's performing. Like you feel comfortable, what's being said, and you're kind of like, yeah, or whatever. You're listening to someone, you feel all their feelings and hurts and whatever. You're getting into like a place where you're really performing. And I'm talking about in like groups, like even us, like you're talking multiple people. And then what happens is, like, a new person comes in, it's over. Back to forming. We're forming in the group again. We're norming what's a normal behavior. Then we're performing. But the real juicy good stuff happens at performing. And so to me, it's understanding how to maximize that, because it's so fleeting. It's so fleeting that we really focus and care about people. It's easy. We're self-focused. I mean, in a sense, evolutionary, we have to be at some amount. It's like I try to explain like how axiology does, in a sense, moral need. Like, how much need do we have right now to help someone in our country as opposed to us? How about, so people think about it, it's like little rings. You start with you. That's the axiological value. Then your family. Then your immediate friends. Then your, say your immediate town, people Then your city. Then your state. Then your country. That's, we like do these layers. So what's different is, like, say if someone's a police officer, all of a sudden they have to care about more people in the environment, right? So what happens is their ring of what's friends expands to the city, or expands to the state. And military expands that to, in a sense, our country. And so nothing is changed. Axiological, you're just expanded where who I need to die for is, or who I need to fight to protect, or who matters to me, that I would risk myself. But in a sense, like this one guy tried to tell me, oh, well, your morality doesn't work once you start having different things. What about this and this? And I'm like, yeah, that's actually the same thing if you understood how I see morality. And so another thing, too, I want to talk about morality, which leads to what is a good human behavior, is that, to me, morality is like a general construct. And then inside morality, you have values that lead to why you think something is moral. It starts at values. You change your values, you change your life. I changed from a Republican, gay-hating, probably semi-sexist, Christian. And then as soon as I became an atheist and I didn't have that driving force of why I'm supposed to think this way, and I allowed myself to be open, all of a sudden I was gay supporting. I was, I was trying very hard to be unsexist, And I was starting to really, so it really changed for me. So you change your values, it really changes how you start structuring and seeing things. But this is important. Since we have control about what we value, this makes it very important. Part of morality, that we need to check our values, because our values lead to what we then think is what's moral and not moral. And so, but also, there's a difference between morals and ethics. There is business ethics. There's not business morals, in a sense that you can learn classes on. And one of the reasons is morals, in a sense, is what you personally think you should do. To me, it's a personal, self-focused morality. And it can be good. Like, I can have a belief that, we need to be generous. That's my personal, so I try to be generous. So ethics, though, is how we behave with others. Like, there's people that are anti-gay, but when they go to work, ethically and under the job provision, they're supposed to treat everybody in a sense equal. So that's a time where ethics is not matching with someone's internal morality. And this goes back to me why, in a sense, there's ethical humanism, is that humanism is saying, it doesn't ask, what do you believe? It says, this is how you should behave. And that reminds me, too, when people say, well, people have rights. Well, it's like, to me, when you say that, I think, well, actually, when you're treating people equal is a behavior. I'm treating you equal. It's not like you have to earn it. Like we check, well, no, you're only 75% equal. Sorry. No, it's a general persuasion. So you start to see it differently when you realize that it is how we treat others. It has to do with a pro-social, behavior as opposed to an anti-social, self-focused behavior. And so to me, what's really important is, how we act ethically. Because that's where we have the other morality. That's why I say that the golden rule is a bronze rule at best.
Yeah.
Sorry. They're like, oh, well, you have to. This one guy told me, oh, well, you have to acknowledge the golden rule. I said, yeah. Let's see. Should morality start with what I give a fuck about or what other people are? Because if you're on another planet and there's just a me, do I do unethical behavior? To me, no. If there's no one else around, I can harm nobody, and there's nothing else alive on the planet in a sense, nothing to harm, there's no ethics. Because everything I'm doing, I'm choosing to do. So if it harms me, it's my own fault. There's not, in a sense, I'm unethical to myself. And so it requires others. So that's why I always find it fun. What's that?
When people try to argue the opposite, it's a clear indicator to me that you just don't understand what the definition of morality is.
Yeah.
And that's a good place to start. It's just like, define morality. Please do that first.
Yeah.
It is a good place to start. I have these conversations all the time with people who not necessarily even are. It's not even a political channel. I'm a policy junkie, big time. But I did just this week. I was on Steve McRae's channel on a show that he does on the weekends called Caffeine Corner to talk about a straw man that was built up by a person of what secular humanism is to them, so that then they can tear that apart. She was equating it to, which is not necessarily her fault, because she did get it off the secularhumanism.org or whatever, which they equate secular humanism to anti-theism, and that's not necessarily true, because now you just took people who really aren't educated or informed in any of this, but they don't like the way that looks or feels because their mother's a theist or their grandmother's a theist. Well, that's not me. I really don't like that. But how I have these conversations all the time, I'm always talking about humanism is the answer to me and for anyone, no matter what their belief systems are, because you want, even if you are, let's say you're a selfish venture capitalist, you still want your wife to be taken care of, your children to be taken care of, your great-grandchildren, your mother and father. So let's imagine you being in each one of these houses where those families are yours. You want the same thing. I was told by this particular person who built up the straw man of secular humanism that we can't have humanistic policies like healthcare for all or education for all because we're not all white here. I just can't. I can't. And I didn't call her a racist because I don't know her that well. I said people who say we can't have nice things because we're not all white or we're not all homogenous, whatever, we all, purple. It doesn't matter. You're saying because you're not like this, you're different. You are ruining it for us. It makes my blood boil because that's the opposite of humanism. I'm saying that you're wrong. And so and it's hard for me because I don't have you keep this nice, cool, calm. When I hear stuff like that, immediately I'm at a different level. I'm just I'm sorry, you're wrong, and let me count the ways. And I know.
So, and if did you watch my 3 videos about how to do my style? I'm actually
I'm on number 2 right now.
Yeah, I actually have scars in my hands. I'm a very violent person by nature. No, I'm aggressive as fuck. I was kicked out of high school. No, I'm serious. I'm not even joking. I'm not a fucking normal person that would be kind. So I tell people, but that actually shows that if I can do it, it can be done by anybody. And like I said, to me, it goes back to the same thing I said about transgender and the same thing I say about doing people with religion. Compassion. It takes me. It's effort on my part. When people are ignorant, it takes me wanting to help them. I'm not saying I can help everybody. I don't like fucking racists. They piss me off. I don't like people going on and on about their sexist bullshit. Your fucking male ego does not matter to me. Go fuck.
Yeah, it's really
But I'm not. But what I don't do, I don't attack them. I don't say you are a piece of shit, even if I think it. I just go, I think I'm gonna have to block you. I won't accept that. And I try to do too is what I teach in my thing in the video about doing dignity attacks. So to me, dignity attacks are ways of motivating behavior. So you'll say something, like racist, and I'll say, you know what? People of character, don't do racist things because they realize that we should all care, even if we don't understand or if we think people are different. Yeah, a lot of things are different. People in families are different, so this, but you're making them, say, or I say, if someone says something to me, like they attack me for something, I challenge the character of the behavior. I go, you're not being intellectually honest by saying that. I'll say, or I'll say, I just did a video with this woman who says she's a psychic and talks to God and, spoke to me supposedly from God. And I challenge her throughout the whole thing. I do it, though, in a way that she left happy, but yet felt extremely challenged. But the one time she got mad, it was because she said, I tried to explain. She said, well, I know that I don't do, anything weird because, I talk to people on the phone, so there's no way it can be cold reading. And I went, yeah, that's not true. Right. I go, in fact, let me demonstrate cold reading and show how you can do it over the phone. And so I did. It's basically, I think I'm getting from a dead relative, a J name, or maybe a B name, maybe an M. And then person goes, well, I have a cousin who died named, Malik. Yes, Malik is talking to me. What the? You should have known that if Malik was talking to you. You know what I'm saying? You're fishing. Yep. And I said, that's what these people do is they fish. They throw out these things. And I understanding psychology, I could do it pretty easily, make people think things if I wanted to, because you understand how people think and their biases and how we want to believe things. If you agree with someone, they generally want to, even if you end up not agreeing, if you start you know what, I really like your point, but then basically turn around and show everything about their point was wrong. All they heard. But all they heard in a sense was, wow, they validated me. So psychologically, in a sense, you can manipulate people by doing that. You start with something positive, like the Bible, it's like the carrot and the stick. Oh, well, if you just have the stick, people run. But if you have the carrot, hey, you're giving them something to, And we like to be appreciated. We have this deep, that's why that God stuff is so easy to manipulate people.
And I have a theory on everything you just said, a theory that I think all the time. Why is it that the most un-Christian president we've ever had, as far as everything, is the most loved by the evangelicals? And my theory is just that. To be able to con people, you have to be a con artist who is better apt at conning people than a pastor or a priest. And I'm not saying that they're inherently bad. I do have my opinions about them, especially the megachurch guys. However, all of them have to be able to read a room. They have to be able to read people. They have to be able to look out and be like, this is not working, and change it to something that gets them.
Which he does.
Something right, and they do. And Trump is someone whoever the last person in the room with him was, that's going to be his opinion until he talks to the next person. So, evangelicals being the group of people that are known to manipulate, that's what they do. They just the little, strings above him. That's my theory on it. I know I have nothing to back that up. I know that, but I feel it very strongly.
Well, I would say that to me it's simple. If you look at the Trump's policies, forget what he believes, as if that matters.
Agreed.
His policies, he's the most, in a sense, a reactionary, religious, Christian, forget religious, Christian, in a sense, president and a politician that we've had that has the ability to reach so many. And to me, I don't think that they, like he said 2 Corinthians. I mean, who even says that?
Yeah.
2 Corinthians is what I've always heard. Maybe but he sounds like someone who's never picked up a Bible, and yet he's claiming. I've heard people, even Christians, say like, "Well, what's your favorite part?" He's like, "Oh, I like the whole thing." He's he's no freaking clue. That dude is so.
Do you like the Old Testament or the New? I think they're both important.
Yeah, he's no clue. So to me, I don't think that they're deluded that he's a Christian the way they want him to be a Christian. I think he's the Christian the way they want him to be a Christian, which is that he will destroy anything non-Christian and set them up on an altar where they can then, in a sense, rule the country. That's what it's that dominationism. They want to take over. And so Trump is giving it.
That's a classic religious trait, like in and of itself. Like, it's not just like a Trump thing. That's a God thing. Like, this church really doesn't teach the way that I see God. I think I'm going to find a new one.
Go to a different church.
Right?
Well, speaking of that, reminds me, I exposed my stepdad for looking at porn and stuff. He was the Christian pastor. They were kind of helping the youth pastors or assistant pastors. I was mad because number one, he was cheating on my mom, but also for the fact that he had harped on me about being sexual so fucking and liking porn over. He had been on me, and here this son of a bitch is out seeing prostitutes and cheating and shit, and he's looking at me this way? Shit, I do everything in the open. I got an open marriage. Go fuck yourself. My mom was always mad that it seemed like me and my wife were better friends than they were, and they're doing the Christian thing, and I'm doing like the almost like hedonist thing, and yet I'm happier. She freaking hated that. Like, how are your relations so damn good, and you guys are like so open and like freaky? You're like, yeah, well, right, the right.
You just nailed it.
Yeah, really. But to me, but I was go back to my dad. So I exposed, I showed my mom his computer that he had done this, right? They go, their pastor. And my mom says that she wants him not to masturbate even or have any sex with him for 6 months. And I first told Mom, if you're going to stay with him, if his problem was wanting more sex, do you really think denying sex is like the answer? I mean,
it's such a Christian thing, man.
What,
you have to torture yourself in order to be okay, to be good enough.
Right. But you know what? She went to the pastor of the church they had been to for a while. And the pastor told her, start having sex with him. So guess what? They found a new church. They found a new church.
something that like really boggles my mind is it's just not natural to like not have sex or not have any kind of sexual acts, right?
Yeah.
But they also harp on do things only like a natural way, or being gay is a natural when it is.
With a hole in it, just
a hole. Yeah. That just in and of itself really makes me roll my eyes back to the back of my head.
Yeah, it makes me giggle like a fourth grader. I can't. I can't. I'm like, what?
So, steering it back to the politics a little bit, can you tell us, are you open enough to just...
Yeah, I'm open to talking about anything. You're talking about what I am politically? I'm a socialist.
Yes.
I'm a socialist, collectivist, mutualist, anarchist, which I label as Anarcho-Humanism, because I see as the focus is to do no harm and to do good. In a sense, is to maximize that as much as possible. And like I said, which to me equals human flourishing. If we all work together, if we all actually cared about each other and had compassion where we didn't understand, what kind of a world we live in? You know, and so to me, I want home. I want, in a sense, honor, open, motivate, embrace. A way that, in a sense, we're interacting with other people. We're honoring who they are. You know, we're open to learn new things, you know, and then we motivate each other, and then we embrace each other in our struggles. I mean, if we did this on a world level, I mean, it is amazing. And it's not impossible. Look at how, you know, you would think like in pandemic movies, you know, when the pandemic happens like it is now, people start getting guns and killing each other and doing, you know, a bunch of wacky stuff. But it seems like that kind of, you know, didn't happen. We seem to kind of be really starting to care and wanting to give money and wanting to be socialist. And I find that gives me a lot of hope, because, man, when Trump came in, I cried for like 3 hours straight. I didn't even mean to. I was just watching and I just heart broke. We just got into this sexist, homophobic, racist bastard. I could not believe what is wrong with people. I hated Trump from the moment that he started with the Mexican shit. I have Mexican members of my family. I'm from California, and I told you I've helped in Mexico as an atheist. It just, man, like, fucking pissed and hurt and like, oh my God.
Family that are Mexican. I have friends and
just set you on fire.
It just broke my heart, man. I cried for America. What the fuck is wrong with you? Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm way more progressive and left than most people, but come on, just human decency.
I think that humanism does, when you have honest skepticism and a thirst for knowledge and education mixed with humanism, you follow the facts to where they lead you, and you change your mind and your opinion often when the facts arrive. So also, I find myself daily saying, I'm willing to fight for people I don't know. Where are those people? Being a part of L.E.A.H showed me that we're here. We're out there. There's more than just me. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So can I ask you to kind of give us more of an idea of how you think we should act?
Well, I think that we should act globally. If you're asking my opinion, I think this whole idea of nation states is just a loser from the beginning. I mean, because we're taught with nationalism that people we don't know in our own country are somehow valuable more than people we don't know in another country. I mean, it's just it's fucking ridiculous. Like I said, and the hatred, you know, it comes from that, and xenophobia comes from that nationalism sort of to me, we're a human race. We need to start behaving like that, which is more scientific anyway. Science wouldn't go, oh well, you're just from this country. You know, I mean, we know we all come originally from Africa, so we need to start behaving like it. We're 99%, in a sense, DNA, you know, similar. In fact, chimpanzees, I think it is, have more variation than human, you know, what we call races. So, you know, it's just a bunch of unscientific thinking, you know, and irrational thinking that gets us to this place that humanism or to me, more communitarianism and mutualism behaviors. And mutualism to me is not something that we force on it. It's something that benefits us too. That we rise by helping each other. In fact, people a lot of times have this, because this capitalist, selfish, mindset, that they start with this thing of that I've done everything myself. Oh, really? So you paid for the school that you went to? You paid for the water system to be there. I mean, it's like you built the house, you built the safety system of the paramedics and the police.
You built your road.
What's that?
I said you built your road.
Yeah. So
all of it individually with.
When you were in your mom's womb, you were like, first world nation, please. I think that'll do.
Well, yeah, that's, there's a thing called the veil of ignorance, written by an atheist that only calls himself a non-theist. He says he's a non-theist. I'm like, so you're an atheist. I mean, what the fuck is the difference? I mean, coming up with, it reminds me that you come up with words trying to not offend the religious, it's like, but anyways, he explains in that the concept of, veil of ignorance is that you're going to, in a sense, say, go to a world and you don't know what race you're going to be, in a sense. You don't know if you're going to be a different gender. You don't know if you're going to be a different sexuality. You don't have any concept of religion you're going to believe. You don't know. Maybe none. You don't know. So you want as many rights for as many of those people as possible so that when you go there, you're good. You're going to protect you, in a sense, by protecting everybody because you don't know. You don't know who you are. And if you approach things like that, it's the same thing to me. Like I say, when I say some people are dignity beings, I realize that makes me have to care more about them. And people, often will have this concept, not everybody though, because we like the justification towards violence. Like some people will say, well, everybody, who touches a child should be killed. But if it's their own relative, do they still feel that? Not always. And they talk about, especially in religion, they talk about forgiveness, Well, my parent molested me. Well, you're supposed to forgive them, So then they're obviously not thinking that people should be stoned, or killed that are pedophiles. So what we need, though, is a universal thing of care. Just like the government, sets up, prison systems. Prison systems, to me, are punitive, and they're generally very racist and how they approach things, and sexist and homophobic and transphobic in how they interact. If it was me, I would stop the way the system is, and I would make it about counseling. It should be about mental health. Crime should be a mental health and a society issue that we address, in a sense, just like we do with this pandemic. It's a pandemic. How many lives are lost because of violence? How many lives are lost, people trying to steal stuff? I mean, they go in someone's house and kill them. Or they terrorize people because they go in someone's house and they say they don't kill anybody, but now you're scared to live in your own house. There's a cumulative effect. Just like, when someone's molested, it's not just the moment that they experienced it. Their whole life is now fucked. Every relationship they have, they're going to have to deal with that in a sense. Or can. Not everyone always is the same. Just like Richard Dawkins saying, well, he was touched as a child, it didn't bother him, so it's not a big deal. Horseshit. Just because it doesn't affect you does not mean that someone else has that same emotional makeup. Maybe they do it to me and I want to kill myself. I mean, I just find it, but it goes back to that thing of the non-compassion. Is that something someone compassionate would say? I try to think about that. Is that how, because I realize words have power. In fact, they can actually change lives or destroy them just by words, by saying things to people. Because I can tell you you're terrible, you're stupid, you're ugly, and if you start believing that or saying, your gender is wrong, you're really this gender or that gender, like say to a trans person, and you wonder why they kill themselves, or you tell people that are gay and lesbian, or bisexual or pansexual, you tell them, hey, you can't do that, you have to be heterosexual only. The damage that you do to that person, you say that you're not valid. Telling people that they don't have an ownership of their own thoughts, their own feelings, and that what they have is toxic. This type of a thing, we, as to me, an ethical person, which to me, what I believe a humanist should be, someone who is other-focused, not just self-focused. That means that they don't matter, because they should. Humanists should care about themselves. But I also think it's really crazy, this thought where people will say, well, you can't love anyone if you don't love yourself. And I think, man, you've never known a mother. Because a lot of mothers don't love themselves, but goddamn if they don't love their kids. We have these concepts that are given to us, like say from religion, or from culture, and we allow it to, in a sense, we allow all these ideas and beliefs come and impregnate our mind. Sometimes without, even thinking about it, just from being raised in a certain area. You're like, well, I didn't see any racism. Well, like I just talked to a guy, he says he doesn't see much racism. You live in Iceland. What the fuck? How the fuck would you even know? I'm not trying to be mean, but how the fuck would you know? I mean, you don't see any? Well, I don't know. If you're living in a mainly white country, that probably isn't that much of a problem for you. I mean, but see, the problem is people, they always think about what's the problem for them. Well, if I'm fine, then everybody's fine. It's a total fallacy. Everybody else could be fucking suffering.
Yeah. That goes back to what I said earlier, is that I see a lot of this conservative Christian, conservative any religion or without religion even, just this way of, like I said, it could be Democrat or Republican, just this more conservative, closed mind thinking of, I don't want to do or sign any policies, these leaders. I don't want to sign any policies that help gay people because my religion's against that. And then their daughter grows up and marries a woman, and they're like, I was wrong. And so now, I was wrong. So when it happens to them, and I feel you, I agree with that. Unless it happens to them, they're not seeing it, there's not a problem. And I have a huge problem with that.
Oh, definitely.
Because other people are. Yes.
Well, and sometimes...
Have you seen anything about Norway's prison system? Because what you were just describing, if you haven't, I will send you, I have a couple documentaries.
Yeah, no, they're actually...
mind-blowing.
Well, if you treat... It's like, there's another thing, too, is... do we want these people to be let out again? That'd be my first question. Like, axiologically. Yeah, axiologically, because before I know what we're going to do with them, I want to know, are we going to let them out? Because if we're going to let them out...
Your neighbor. That's what they do. They said this person could be your neighbor.
Right.
What kind of neighbor do you want?
It's just... It's just understanding.
They have their own rooms. They have their own bathrooms with doors. The most you can get is 22 years. That doesn't mean that you're mandatorily let out in 20 years. You get reevaluated. But a prisoner has nothing to fucking lose if he knows he's doing 500 lives in prison. Yeah, so who cares who ridiculous. He kills? Who cares? He can kill anybody he wants. Nothing will ever change in his life. Right. Yeah, so you take away the little bit of humanist, their own personhood. It's gone. And so when you take that away, what do you have? An animal. Literally, that's what you have.
Well, but also they think that somehow if you get put in prison, that it changes you. Well, yeah, but is it for the good? Like, if we're all stuck in our houses, do we feel, more connected to everybody or more separate? Is it going to be weird going back into society? Kind of, after a long period of time. So if you can think of it, the prison system, it can't be the same way. I mean, if we want to let them out, I mean, and I want to be safe. So if the goal is recidivism to end, then humanism has to begin in the prison system. It has to be human, care.
So I have an interesting question for you then, to build off that. What would you say for the ones that we wouldn't want to have back out, or do you think there's any case where...
Well, absolutely. There's cases that we can't let back out, because to me it goes back to the same thing. Is this person going to, say, harm children or whatever? If they've already had 10 cases of child molestation, to me, I wouldn't even go that far. But, I mean, to me, that person is... Because when you're hurting a kid, you're hurting a kid for their entire life. So the weight of that harm is humongous. It's like when people think about, someone, being raped. It's not even just the act of what happens. It's the in a sense, we know it causes PTSD. We know that it can cause dissociation. It can actually ruin the person where they want to commit suicide. They feel they never can get clean feeling. I mean, it's disgusting. So the crimes that are the harm of person, I think, have to be, taken a lot more serious. But once again, I think it should be counseling. I think we should be studying them. I think we should be figuring out what is wrong with them. It's just like the FBI did with serial killers. I think we need to understand this pandemic of, crime in a way that we should have always done it, which is more scientific about what is the psychology behind this? What is causing this? How can we fix this crime problem? And so to me,
because we have a habit of just going at it at a punishment standpoint instead of how do we fix it standpoint. And if we do have a how do we fix it standpoint, like people who go in and like interview people who have been convicted.
So one way I think we can solve that is give free counseling to children. Have free group counseling in school all the way through. I mean, we should be helping, the children individually if they want, and then in group. There's a lot of power when you bring other people, because you get solidarity and you start to feel. And also sometimes in group, what happens? Say I'll never talk about my feelings, which I do all the time. But let's just say I didn't. Well, there's people that don't. I don't know who those people are, but they're not me. But so I talk about everything because who gives a shit? To me, what happens is, in a group, you could never say something, but someone else will talk. That's why just in like atheism too, we need to explain things, because you'll hear someone explain and go, that is exactly how I feel. And then you actually can learn about yourself through others. Absolutely. And so I think that, and we should absolutely be teaching, like in sex classes, we should be teaching homosexuality. Period.
Agree.
I mean, it's
everything we know factually about sex should be taught factually to all humans.
So, and I think that we should learn about transgender people. I think that the fact that we feel like these are add-ons to the human experience, I find to be, just disingenuous. It's just inaccurate. And so to me, it is something that we have to do, not waiting, like the crime, not waiting till someone's in jail, not waiting till someone is, a full-blown sexist and a full-blown homophobe. We need to try to get people as children, That's what the religious do. But the reason that we should be doing is to teach the truth, to teach the fact. These are not radical things. This is fucking science. This is a good psychology. This is not some, a far, an extremist or something, opinion.
Yeah. It's not
theirs
an
is.
ideology.
No, theirs is.
Education and knowledge.
So it's like this.
Education and knowledge can't be wrong. It's knowledge about something or a time in history. It's knowledge. You can say it happened like that, but the facts and evidence we have show that it did. And I think for that to be, what is that war in our country? And it is. Have you seen there's a documentary called The Revisionist?
No.
It's about education, and we really don't have time to really go into it, but I will send you the link, because all the textbooks in this country come from Texas and California. What Texas and California do and buy, the rest of the nation does. So think about that. In the Texas board where they vote, they were trying to put Moses in the history books. Because
I heard about that.
Historical fucking figure.
Yeah, that he helped the Constitution or whatever.
Yes. He is the reason. Yes. Now you're understanding.
Yeah.
And they also wanted,
about that, Christy.
when you turn the page, when you start teaching evolutionary biology, there had to be a warning saying this is just a theory.
Yeah, like if they understand what a scientific theory is.
Right. They don't understand the difference between a capital and a lower T in science. Because one means everything we know about this, and this is how we can explain it.
Right. So a law is explained in a sense by a theory. So the theory already needed the law to be there, and thus the evidence to be there to come to the theory. Right. It's an explanation.
I've had Christians tell me that, well, it's just a theory and it hasn't become a law yet. So when it becomes a law, you let me know. I'm like, I can't even get mad at them because it's not their fault that they're woefully ignorant. They're science illiterate. But many are.
And they're science liars. And then people to me get it mixed up because they'll say, they'll say science isn't about truth, and I'm like, well, I don't really understand what you're talking about. Because are you saying the periodic table is not true? Are you saying that we live on a planet and we breathe oxygen is not true? Are you saying that, people aren't, in a sense, born with a certain amount of limbs and there's like a certain, thing that we understand of why that is? Like the fact we come from fish and evolution is true. I mean, it's just, what's hard for me is that, to me as an axiologist, the term true is a label, like God is a label. True is something we label on things, that we're trying to say that this is an accuracy to is either a logic in a sense, in some way, or an evidence. So reason or evidence. I don't know what else you could be talking about, because if it doesn't involve reason, it doesn't involve evidence, fuck is it? Wishful thinking, or is it just making shit up?
It's like your opinion, man.
Yeah, it's okay. Oh, nice. But even your opinions, like to me, I try to do what's called belief etiquette. I always try to have reasoned, in a sense, belief acquisitions, like what I allowed to come in that I start believing. But we do this without thinking. Belief is, our brain is like a belief, magnifying machine. We're like looking to believe things. We're out there. But if you think evolutionary, to understand our environment and to be able to focus and work well as a social species, you do kind of have to trust other people in the sense a little bit and be part of that group think so that you can, survive. So if they all say it's scary, there's a lion outside, you don't go outside and go, I need to see the lion for my damn self. If someone says, don't eat these mushrooms, fuckers have died, you don't go, well, I don't know if I'll die, boom, got dead. And if you did evolutionary, you would die off and thus not produce that ignorant, in a sense, gene that doesn't, in a sense, believe things. So belief.
All of us alive right now evolved from humans that didn't eat that.
Well, right. So what they did is they believed people. So when people said don't eat things, that we believed them. So belief is a natural process. I hear some atheists go like, well, I don't believe anything. Well, that itself actually is a belief. You believe that you don't believe things. So the point.
I know.
So the point is
they
just.
Need to learn logical fallacies.
Yeah. So belief is, just to have a better word, is acceptance in a sense. You're accepting this as an accuracy. You're accepting this as true in a sense. When you say I believe it, you're accepting that I think this is somehow relating to something. So it's really to understand then how we address beliefs. That's why I'm saying we try not to let anything in that doesn't have, in a sense, a reasoned, process. Then, to me, we're going to believe things that are unreasoned, on accident. So we should go back to all of our beliefs and, in a sense, have a good belief maintenance. That we reassess. No, was that really good? Did I really have enough to support that? Is it still an accuracy? And even science does this. Science that constantly is looking, in a sense, almost to prove itself or to show something, more accuracy. And so a lot of times people go, well, science, is always wrong. No, science is constantly getting more and more accurate. That's a better way of looking at it, because we're constantly getting more of the gaps filled in. And so you get a better understanding of what's going on. But some things don't change. I mean, we do live on this earth, and all living things basically breathe oxygen. I mean, so even sponges, in a sense, have been shown, that if you put them in a container that's oxygen free, I think they die like in 20 days or something like that. But they actually, so that's not going to change ever. Not 30,000 years from now. That's not going to change. That it wasn't 30,000 years before. I mean, so there's certain things that science that, unless reality itself is not true, are true. And since we have no reason to think reality is not true, then there's all reason to accept that what we are able to demonstrate, observe, are true, to whatever that word can mean. And so to me, just like I was saying about solipsism, so if someone says we can't know things, we can't know if the world's real, well, an axiological assessment of that is, but we have to present ourselves in the world behavior-wise as if it's true, because if it is true, people are actually being harmed. If we act this way as if people are being harmed and the world's false, well, it doesn't matter. So there's no negative of behaving in a positive way, addressing the world as if it's real. But if you don't behave positively and the world, is real and you think it's false, you have created real harm. And so to me,
I've listened to a lot of those conversations. How do we know we're not a brain in a vat?
right.
Those
Conversations. Yeah, I think they're really good for people to have, especially with people who are also having them seriously. It's a lot of questions that you get going down there don't have answers, maybe never will, and you have to say, that's okay, I still want to pursue them. Which I think that someone who's just letting go of religion, just recovering from religion, and I can only speak for myself, I didn't come there yet. I had asked those big questions, but I wasn't ready to actually, sit down and go find out if there are answers. It took a while, and some philosophy learning basic philosophy. That helped me understand that everything that I thought that I had just got right was all fucking wrong, and I needed to do it all over again.
It's important to do. When you don't teach critical thinking in high school, it's
I think it should be taught starting in kindergarten.
Well, to me, even logic, like I've heard Christians well, logic, you have no explanation for logic, so logic definitely is given by God. And I'm like, well, you didn't ask if I have an explanation for logic, because I do.
Right.
I have an explanation for logic. What happens is experience or event occurs. Feelings are then produced automatically, because in a sense we run off of our, in a sense, lizard brain, where we are fight or flight, which is our subconscious reacting for us, in a sense. Hijacking us and taking over. And then after that feeling, we generally get thoughts. We start thinking about what we've just felt. Then once we think about what we felt, then we start to order that thinking. It becomes reason. And when reason is then, in a sense, ordered to the environment of ideas or the environment of the external world, that reason, in a sense, then becomes logic. Like, what's so funny to me when people try to use logic to debunk reality. I'm like, that's funny, because logic demands that things don't change. If things can change and be anything, then logic, in a sense, ceases to exist. Because logic says this is the way it is, or that's the way it is. Like, if I said, is it logical that I grow, wings tomorrow? Well, you know that humans don't grow wings, so me growing them at any time is ridiculous. I'm talking about something that doesn't exist in reality. It's not possible. Like if you say that, or a concept. So to me, like in the philosophy, how you get to logic, in a sense, is a sort of a pragmatism. That we don't know, so we have to first start that we have to order thinking. We don't know. We're not even making any knowledge claim. We're just saying that we can't just randomly have all these thoughts and just believe any thought. We have to have some order to how we're doing this. And then from that, we build a structure of thinking. What we should, I should say, because not everybody does this. This would be the highlight of how to do it. How's that? So in a sense, we start ordering our thinking. This doesn't even have to do with beliefs yet. This has to do with how we're going to approach things, like the scientific method. It starts off with a standard. So in a sense, that's what we're doing intellectually. We start off with a standard, and we start looking at the world. And so then it has to, in a sense, have accuracy. Like, if you say, so the first thing to me, the philosophy of pragmatism is kind of like what starts, in a sense, reason of why you end up with logic. And then to me, logic addresses two different things. Like one is in a sense where you have, one is the correspondence theory of truth, which to me it relates to evidence. That types of evidence can't change. If a rock can only be a rock. Like in logic, they have, that a thing can only be a thing in a sense, and, you can't have a scooted middle, so you can't have a middle thing. It has to be either is or it isn't. So it's addressing how things have to be, in a sense, reality based. And so that's already accepting the presupposition that reality exists.
Yes,
so if it's
all those things is not easy. What you just described is like year one in philosophy.
Yeah, you have to dedicate
And
yourself.
so if you don't have that, what you just spoke, they're like, why? Why is none of this matters in my everyday life?
And none of it makes any sense.
You're like, it matters in everything.
Yes.
Everything.
Yeah, it's just a pity that we don't have an educational system that promotes it.
I could, when he gets done, he's gonna lay down and be like, "Oh my god, my mind is tired. I just worked."
I like thinking. Like some people talk about meditating, and I do that in a sense with ideas sometimes. I'll take an idea in my mind, and I try to have it like a balloon, and I let it float. I don't have any destination, no bias to what it's going to do or mean. I just let the idea float, and I don't have attached to anything. I try to clear my mind like it's just blank, except this one idea. And I try to analyze it and think about it. And where does it go? Where does it lead? I really try to. So I like doing mind thinking more than meditation, where they're kind of like, to me, unthinking or trying not to think about their day or their. I try to think it's on ideas. To me, so I like thinking.
Great minds think of ideas.
Yep.
Yeah.
Smaller minds talk about other people. All of that good stuff. That is a great quote. I just butchered it, but the original one is beautiful and poetic. I'm done.
Okay, real quick, I'm gonna state a couple things and then have you tell us where everyone can find you. Real quick, I wanted to let everyone know. Thank you for helping us make it to the 700 club.
Right on.
We now have 700 subscribers. So thank you so freaking much. After told us just before the stream.
Awesome.
Another thing, L.J. posted in the comments, Republicans only have empathy if something affects them personally. And YouTube wanted me to either show or hide that comment. I'm like, what the fuck?
What?
So fuck off, YouTube. That's the thing there.
Oh, really?
Right?
No.
Thirdly, make sure you go outside soon, because right now Venus is right underneath the Pleiades, which is fucking awesome. So if you have binoculars or a telescope, you get quite the eyeful. It's super duper cool. I've never seen that. I doubt I'll ever get to see it again.
Right.
I just noticed it the other day. I'm like, wait, where's the Pleiades? Fuck yes! So it's super duper cool. So go check that out. I don't know what it means or if Venus is in a retrograde. Fuck all that.
Not just said outside.
It just looks cool.
Yard.
Yeah.
In your own yard.
Yeah, in your own yard.
Well, I have a 1-bedroom apartment, so.
Yeah, well, I live in an apartment
your own
too,
parking
but
lot.
it's right on my porch.
There you go. So yeah, go check it out. It really is cool. You can't see the Pleiades without the binoculars, but Venus is it's a fucking bright one. And then the last thing I wanted to share, because I didn't want to wait till a whole other week to say it, I found out that Joe Biden is also now doing fireside chats, and they will cost
however
$2,800
per ticket.
Per ticket.
Wait. Bernard Sanders has been doing fireside chats like 4 to 5 nights a week for free. Since this started.
Yeah, and it's 25,000 or 25K if you'd like to spring for the VIP clutch or whatever. So yeah, I thought that was crazy. I wanted to share real quick.
Yeah, speaking of money, where you can find me, like I'm on Patreon, but I don't charge. I everything is open to the public. All I say is if you support what I do, give me donations. I'm not going to, in a sense, almost give you anything. I'll tell them I'll if they give me a lot of money, I'll talk to them or maybe meet them. But in general, it's my thing is if people think that I'm doing something worthwhile, then support it. But I want to get out to people that don't have money. I want to get out to people, that and allow them to, because I feel like I have a lot to say that educate them on a lot of things, and I want to make a difference in the world, and that really matters a lot to me.
I love that you don't have a paywall. I can right now, think of 20 people I see in chat rooms all over the atheist, skeptical YouTube corner, and the first 20 I think of, probably 19 of them wouldn't be able to see anything if I put it behind a paywall. Like, it really does bother. I get it why people do it, especially if this is their full-time job. And I do like that my favorite channels that do have things behind paywalls, after 6 weeks it'll be free too. Like, they don't keep it forever. It's just you get to see it first. And I mean, I get it. I probably won't. I don't know. If I had what's his name, Bezos has $115.6 billion, right? That's what he has. If I had that, every single American citizen would wake up with $2 million in their account. Because why? I wouldn't even feel that. It wouldn't even make a difference to me. Why wouldn't I? Bitch, y'all love me now, right? Let's go clean up some other country. I don't know. Like, let's do this. I got you. I didn't even feel it. My money's making money. My money made what I just gave you in 2 minutes.
Yeah, no, I think that money is a product, and we should be using it, in an ethical way. And so, to me, when people talk about, well, what do I really, want? I want ethical. I want ethical society. I want ethical money. I want ethical jobs. I want ethical schools. I want ethical hospitals and ethical jails or whatever. I want everything to be ethical. And I think that,
It shouldn't be a lot to ask for.
No, I mean, a good, decent person, this should be something like duh, but it's obviously not. So, and I think that we have to focus on that. So it's like, what do I want? I want everything to be ethical. You want it to be the simplest, and I know that to do that, requires a lot of the shit to change because it's not ethical. It's not ever been ethical. That's like people talk about the good old days. For who? I mean, who are you going to talk about? And we certainly don't, to me, even have that now. And the new laws that the religious are trying to push in some of the states are fucking morally disgusting. I mean, saying that you can, not do care to someone who's injured because of your religious preference, you need to quit. You have that opinion. Obviously, you need to not work, which is so weird to me about ethical. Like in a counseling, when I was in school, even when I was a Christian, I was just going to be a Christian counselor in the fact that I would be a Christian and I would do normal counseling, right? But there was a guy who was a pastor in my class, and he wanted to do pastoral counseling. And they told him, you won't get your degree the way you think because you understand getting it won't matter if you can't abide by the rules of ethical, behavior to the state, which means you have to support or, people that are trans or, have gay marriage. You can't be this bigot you are and be an ethical, to be, a certified, in a sense, counselor for the state. Why don't we do that, period? I mean, if you're not going to treat someone ethically, I mean, how is that hard? Your religion
Many
is...
countries have implemented that. There are no religious exceptions for bigotry.
There's religious exceptions in this country that really disgust me is the abuse of children. That somehow abusing children for some people who are not religious is harmful in jail. But if you're religious, I now could do the same behavior, cause the same harm to the child, and yet it's okay. I mean, it's disgusting. There should be not any.
Mac read last week or the week before a priest that had gotten in trouble. The judge, the ADA, the state said we really didn't. I mean, he was a priest. We didn't want to give him more than 2 years. So, are you kidding me? Like, do you remember, Mac? They didn't want to give him more time because he was a priest.
Yeah, it's ludicrous.
Had he been a 17 to 25-year-old black man from a fatherless family in the project,
he'd never see the light of day again.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
With that.
Happy joy.
Happy joy.